ne pas vous faire de peine.
Évidemment.
Pendant 3 ans, mon existence a été basée sur le mensonge. Ces pensées ne me quittent pas depuis que je les ai vus ensemble à la chasse et que j'ai brusquement compris.
Écoute, Christine, ça aussi, c'est un truc de notre époque. On est à une époque où tout le monde ment. Les prospectus des pharmaciens, les gouvernements, la radio, le cinéma, les journaux. Alors pourquoi veux-tu que nous autres, les simples particuliers, on monte pour aussi?
Bien, il faut marcher.
So now, what are the rules of the game? There are some interesting quotes in the film. For example, in this world, the scary thing is that everyone has his reason. What does it mean? It means that the norms and policy that specify proper behavior can be changed according if you are from the upper class or if you are from the lower class. So if you are from the upper class, it can be changed according to your own circumstances, and it can be justified in different ways as well. Also, what is quite interesting about the rules of the game is that, like I mentioned earlier about the different world of tension, Jean Renoir doesn't have any villain in the film. It only has people with flaws. And that's a very good example of how his films are very balanced between good and evil. They are not either world, they are both worlds. Also, there is a point whereby Octave says to Christine that everybody lies. So she should not be surprised that that Robert cheated on her and people around her try not to tell her, because we can no longer trust the pharmaceutical pamphlet, the doctor, the politician. Everybody lied today, so we cannot trust anybody. And I think that's a very important quote for these films. The theme was presented about the movie, spoke about the hunting scene, which is a very interesting scene to analyze. So not only because of the hunting itself and because of the way the film was shot, also because it's a kind of a precursor to the war. So by summer 1939, war was imminent in Europe. Germany already violated Munich Agreement and invaded Czechoslovakia. So this scene showed the killing of a dozen of birds and rabbits, and it kind of showcased the slaughter of innocents, here animals, but it kind of implied that the war will make innocent victims as well. So the team spoke about that this scene was shot using 50 shots in 4 minutes. And the entire movie has only 336 shots. So you can see that in that 4 minutes, there are a lot of shots for this particular scene. It also foreshadowed the tragic ending. So Marceau will kill André Jurieu. And ironically, before the hunt, Octave told André to be careful as they might be mistaken for rabbits. So quite interesting because of this.
Je suis ma chère. Permettez, Charles. Personne ne doit approcher de la petite serre.
Des pointards en faction, monsieur le marquis.
Alors pour les formalités, les coups de téléphone et tout le reste, vous verrez avec Corneille.
Bien, monsieur le marquis.
Oh, je ne peux plus, je ne peux plus. Allons, du courage, mademoiselle Jackie. Voyons, une jeune fille comme vous, bien élevée, qui a de l'éducation. Mais il faut que ça ait du courage.
Jackie, on te regarde. Je vais m'occuper de cette petite.
Oui, mais tâchez de dormir un peu, Christine. Vous devez être brisée. Demain, nous avons les soucis du départ.
Bonsoir, Robert.
Bonsoir, Christine.
Bonsoir, messieurs.
Messieurs, il s'agit d'un déplorable accident et rien de plus. Mon garde Schumacher a cru voir un braconnier et il a tiré comme c'était son droit. La fatalité a voulu qu'André Jurieu soit victime de cette erreur.
Messieurs, demain nous quitterons le château en pleurant cet ami exquis. Ce compagnon de qualité qui avait su si bien nous faire oublier qu'il était un homme célèbre. Et maintenant, mes chers amis, il fait froid, vous risquez de prendre mal. Je me permets de vous conseiller de rentrer. Demain, nous rendrons nos devoirs à notre ami Jurieux.
Nouvelle définition du mot accident.
Non, cela chez ne manque pas de classe. Et ça devient rare, mon cher Saint-Thomas. Croyez-moi, ça devient rare.
The ending of the movie is quite interesting also, because you have Robert that says it's a deplorable accident. And the word accident can be interpreted in different ways. So from Schumacher's perspective, definitively it is an accident. He thought that he was killing Octave, who was supposedly with Lisette. However, turns out that it was not Lisette, but it was Christine. So the subtext of this is that it was a willful murder and that the war in Europe is unavoidable. However, following what Robert said in that scene, you have two side characters, one general and one side character that says, "Oh, that's a new definition of the word accident." And the other character will reply, "Well, you're wrong. Actually, this Robert still has class. He has class." So what does it mean? He has class. Basically, it means that despite all of this, he's trying to keep his face. He's trying to hide what actually happened, and he tried to keep everybody at peace. Everybody has the statu quo. You may have noticed also that when Jackie was coming back devastated because she just saw that Andre was shot, Christine holds her and she says, "Be strong, people are looking." So it's more important to them the way they are perceived than the truth. And this is a theme that is running throughout the film. And the only character that is not following those rules is Andre. Why? Because Andre wants to be honest. He wants to be honest with Christine that he loves her. He wants to be honest with Andre that he wants to go away with Christine. And all the other characters just pretend that they don't have love affair, they don't love other people, that they are supposedly virtuous, but they are not. Only Andre does not follow those rules, does not pretend to be somebody else. He's just very truthful. And what happened to him is that at the end he gets killed for being too honest. So that's a quite strong criticism of that bourgeoisie of the time. Here are some of the films that are influenced by the rules of the game. We have first Jean Grémillon, Lumière d'été. We have Ingmar Bergman that we'll see later during the semester, that was influenced also by Jean Renoir in the kind of world that he's portraying. We have The Shooting Party, which is a British film by Alan Bridge. We have Reggiane Padovani, that is a film by Denis Arcand, a Canadian film. And we have a film that is very similar in terms of how the rich and the servants are portrayed, and there is a murder mystery, also a study of character, and it's the film from Robert Altman and Gosford Park. So for those of you who are interested to see similar films, those are all some suggestions for you. So this film, not a typical film from the French poetic realism, because it's not overall so depressing. It's not only about the characters also. And because it's a comedy of manners, it has some characteristic of French poetic realism, but it's not completely. So it ends in a tragedy. You have a character who has a last chance in love and ends up dying. So very typical. However, the rest, we do not have characters on the margin or living on the margin of the society. Characters are either from the high class or from the servant or the lower class. So they are part of the society. They are not living on the margin of society, which is probably the difference with French poetic realism. In terms of tones also, the French poetic realism film are usually very depressing, very dramatic, very romantic. This film not really, actually is a little bit against all of that. However, the tragic ending is very typical of the French poetic realism. So I want to have a look at some interesting scene of the film and talk about. I find this scene very hilarious as well. You have Schumacher trying to kill Marceau, and as he's shooting around, Geneviève starts to panic, and she becomes uncontrollable. So when Robert asks his servant to help out to stop this comedy, he's asking which one, which is very ironic. Which one? The one with the servant or with the one with the masters? So very funny. The other one that I want to analyze is this deep focus cinematography and playing with foreground and background action. So as you can see, the staging of action is done on a multiple plane of depth. So we can actually see at the foreground and at the background, and we have an understanding of the entire action. And that will be something very important with citizenship.
Fais là.
J'avais faim, je suis venue chercher une pomme.
Et Marceau, qu'est-ce que t'en as fait?
Oh bah dis donc, tu me l'as pas donné à garder.
Où vas-tu?
Bah là-haut avec les autres.
J'ai soif, donne-moi à boire.
Bon.
Demain, je vais quitter le château et tu le quitteras avec moi.
Mais si tu veux, Édouard.
Je t'emmène en Alsace. D'abord, les bracos, les crapules, les marceaux, quoi. On sait les dresser. Un bon coup de fusil. La nuit dans la forêt, et puis on n'en parle plus.
Mais bien sûr.
Après tout, je me fous de leur argent. Trop bête d'avoir du bien et de travailler chez les autres, quand on peut être le maître chez soi.
Oh oui, puis ça doit être si beau, l'Alsace. Avec les grands sapins, et puis la neige, et puis les cigognes.
Oh! Oh, Marceau!
I would like to finish the analysis with this scene, why Robert has so many musical instruments. And it's the only moment of this film that we see him truly happy. So what does it show? It shows that he has a childish nature. He's not really a mature man to have mature relationship. And it says something about the bourgeoisie, that if they are so materialistic, that's what they are. They are nothing else. They don't consider people very important. What they consider important is really, the things that they possess. So that's a very good example of how Renoir critiqued the bourgeoisie in general, and Robert is a prime example for that. So thank you for listening in, and I hope you learned something about the movie.